Do you really believe that, Cheta? I do, she replied without hesitation. And I believe in Chuks. He's the most honest, hardworking man I know. A long time ago, in the beautiful city of Enugu, there lived a humble young man named Chuks. He was a cook, but not just any cook. He was a culinary wizard known for creating magic with whatever ingredients were available. Yet, despite his talent, Chuks worked in the grand kitchen of Chief Ono, a wealthy and powerful businessman. The kitchen of Chief Ono's mansion was a place of high expectations, where only the best was accepted. Chuks, with his lean frame, worn clothes, and ever-present smile, seemed out of place in this opulent environment, but his hands, rough from years of cooking, moved with a grace that even the richest in the city couldn't buy. One day, while stirring a pot of egusi soup, Chuks felt a strange sensation in his chest, a kind of warmth he couldn't ignore. His heart began to beat faster. As the door to the kitchen opened, in walked Cheta, the beautiful daughter of Chief Ono. Her presence filled the room with fragrance, sweeter than any spice in Chuks' collection. She was as radiant as the morning sun, with skin the color of freshly roasted cocoa and eyes that sparkled like the stars. Cheta was known throughout Enugu, not just for her beauty, but also for her sharp mind. She had studied abroad, and many believed she would soon marry one of the many suitors who were constantly vying for her attention. But as her eyes met Chuks across the kitchen, something shifted. "Good afternoon, Chuks," she greeted with a smile that made his heart skip a beat. Good, good afternoon, Miss Cheta, he stammered, nearly dropping the ladle. As she watched him walk, her curiosity grew. Despite her privileged life, Cheta had always been fascinated by simple things, and there was something about Chuks that intrigued her. She began visiting the kitchen more often, asking questions about the dishes he prepared, watching him as he chopped, stirred, and tasted. Chuks, though nervous at first, found himself looking forward to her visits, but as the days passed, Chuks' feelings for Cheta grew deeper, and he couldn't help but feel a pang of despair. How could a poor cook like him ever hope to win the heart of a girl like Cheta, the daughter of a man who could buy anything with a flick of his wrist? Chuks tried to push these thoughts away, focusing instead on his work, but Cheta's presence was like a spice that had been added to his life. Once tasted, it could not be forgotten. He found himself dreaming of her, her laughter echoing in his mind like the sweet melody of a love song. One evening, as the kitchen staff prepared for a grand banquet hosted by Chief Ono, Cheta slipped into the kitchen once more. This time, she was alone, and her usual playful demeanor was replaced by something more serious. "Chuks," she began, her voice soft, "can I ask you something?" Chuks nodded, his hands trembling slightly as he set down the knife he had been using. "Anything, Miss Cheta." "Why do you cook?" she asked, leaning against the counter, her eyes fixed on him. "I mean, you are so good at it, but I can tell it's more than just a job to you." Chuks paused, taken aback by the question. No one had ever asked him that before. "I cook because it's the only way I know how to make people happy," he said after a moment. "Growing up, we didn't have much, but whenever my mother cooked, it was like everything was okay, even if it's just for a little while." I guess I wanted to be able to do that for others. Cheta smiled, a smile that made Chuck's heart swell. That is beautiful, she said softly. You have a gift, Chuks. The sincerity in her voice made Chuck's throat tighten. He wanted to tell her how he felt, how every time she entered the kitchen, the world seemed a little brighter. But he knew he couldn't. The gap between their worlds was too wide. Yet, as he watched her leave the kitchen that night, he couldn't help but feel that something had changed. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was a glimmer of hope. The next few weeks were torturous for Chuks. His feelings for Cheta had blossomed into something more profound, something he could no longer deny. But with those feelings came a heavy burden of doubt and fear. He was a mere cook, and she was the daughter of chief. The thought of confessing his love seemed absurd, almost laughable. Meanwhile, Chief Ono had begun noticing his daughter's frequent visits to the kitchen. He wasn't pleased. In his mind, the kitchen was no place for a lady like Cheta's stature. One evening, after a lavish dinner with some influential guests, he decided to speak to her. Cheta, he said, his voice thin, what is that I hear about you spending so much time in the kitchen? You should be focusing on more important matters, like your studies and preparing for your future. Cheta, surprised by her father's tone, tried to brush it off. Papa, I'm just curious about cooking. Chuks is really talented and I have learned so much from him. But Chief Ono was not easily swayed. Curiosity is one thing, but you must remember your place. I won't have you fraternizing with the staff. It's unbecoming of a lady of your standing. Cheta felt a pang of frustration. She loved her father dearly, but his rigid views on class and status were suffocating. She wanted to argue, to tell him that Chuks was more than just a cook, but she knew it would be pointless. Reluctantly, she agreed to spend less time in the kitchen, though it pained her to do so. When she broke the news to Chuks, he tried to hide his disappointment, but his eyes betrayed him. I understand, Miss Cheta, he said, forcing a smile. Your father is right. I'm just a cook, and you have a bright future ahead of you. Cheta looked at him, her heart aching at the sadness in his voice. But I don't see you as just a cook, Chuks, she said softly. You are my friend. Friend, the word echoed in Chuks' mind. Bittersweet and hollow. He wanted to be more than that, but he knew it was impossible. As Cheta left the kitchen that day, a deep sense of despair settled over him. The dream of being with her felt like a dish he could never perfect, a recipe for heartache. Despite the growing distance between them, Chus couldn't stop thinking about Cheta. Her visits to the kitchen had become rare, and when she did come, their conversations were brief and strained. Chuks missed the warmth of their earlier exchanges, but he knew he had to respect her father's wishes. One day, while cleaning up after a particular busy evening, Chuks stumbled upon an old cookbook hidden in a dust corner of the kitchen. It was ancient, its pages yellow and brittle, filled with recipes passed down through generations. As he flipped through the book, one recipe caught his eyes. It was for a dish called afang soup, but the ingredients were slightly different from the traditional ones he knew. Intrigued, Chuks decided to give it a try. As he gathered the ingredients and began cooking, he felt a strange sense of calm. Cooking had always been his refuge, a place where he could lose himself in the rhythm of chopping, stirring, and tasting. But this time it was different. This dish was more than just food. It was a way to channel his emotions, to express the feelings he could never put into words. The aroma of the soup filled the kitchen, rich and tantalizing. As Chuks tasted the finished product, he realized it was unlike anything he had ever made before. It was a dish infused with love, longing, and hope, an unexpected recipe for the heart. The next day, Chuks prepared the soup again, this time making a large batch. He presented it to the other staff in the kitchen, who were all eager to try it. "This is amazing, Chuks," one of the maids exclaimed, her voice wide with delight. "I have never tasted anything like it before." Word of the soup spread quickly, and soon even Chief Ono heard about it. Curious, he asked for a bowl to be brought to him. As he tasted the soup, a look of surprise crossed his face. "This is remarkable," he muttered to himself. He hadn't expected such depth of flavor from a simple dish. Later that evening, when Cheta came to dinner, her father insisted she try the soup. As soon as she tasted it, she knew who had made it. The flavors were familiar, yet there was something more, an underlying emotion that made the dish special. After dinner, Cheta couldn't resist the urge to visit the kitchen. She found Chuks cleaning up, his back turned to her. "Chuks," she called softly. He turned, surprised to see her. "Miss Cheta, I didn't expect to see you here." "I had come to see you," she said, walking over to him. "That soup, it was incredible. I could taste the love in it." Chuks felt his cheeks warm. "I'm glad you like it." "Oh, fem kwaraka we, meaning I prepared it with care. It's a recipe I found in an old cookbook. I just added a little something of my own, you know." Cheta smiled, her eyes meeting his. "Whatever you added, it made it all the difference. Thank you, Chuks." As she turned to leave, Chuks couldn't help himself. "Cheta," he called, dropping the formal title. When she looked back at him, he took a deep breath. I made that soup specially for you." Cheta's heart skipped a beat. She had suspected as much, but hearing him say it made her feel something she hadn't allowed herself to feel before. Hope. She stepped closer, her voice barely above whisper. "Thank you, Chuks. It was the most beautiful thing anyone has ever done for me." As the days passed, the bond between Chuks and Cheta deepened, though they had to be careful. Cheta's visits to the kitchen were always brief and discreet. One afternoon, while Chuks was busy preparing lunch, a visitor arrived at the mansion. It was Emeka, the son of a wealthy politician and one of Cheta's most persistent suitors. He was arrogant, confident in his wealth and status, and he had his sights set on Cheta. "Where is your father, Cheta?" Emeka asked as he entered into the living room, not bothering to hide his disdain for the servant who hurried out of his way. "He's in the study room," Cheta replied coldly, barely glancing at him. Emeka was used to Cheta's indifference, but today he was determined to change that. "You know, my father and I were talking about you the other day," he said, sitting down next to her. "He thinks we would make a great match. Imagine it, two powerful families joined together. We could have the city at our feet, you know." Cheta forced a smile, but inside her, she was fuming. She couldn't stand Emeka's arrogance, and the thought of being married to him was unbearable. I appreciate your interest, Emeka, but I am not interested in such things right now. Emeka frowned, clearly not used to being rejected. Cheta, you are not getting any younger. It's time to think about your future. Before Cheta could respond, Chief Ono entered the room. He greeted Emeka warmly, and they began discussing business. As they talked, Cheta excused herself, needing to escape the suffocating atmosphere. She found herself in the kitchen, where Chuks was busy frying plantains. His face lit up when he saw her, but the smile quickly faded when he noticed the tension in her eyes. Is everything okay, Miss Cheta? He asked, concerned, raising his voice. Cheta sighed, leaning against the counter. It's Emeka. He's here again, talking about marriage and the future. I just can't stand him. Chuks felt a pang of jealousy but quickly pushed it aside. You don't have to marry him if you don't want to, he said softly. Cheta looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of frustration and sadness. I know, but my father thinks it's a good match. And Emeka, he's not going to give up easily. The thought of Cheta being forced into a marriage she didn't want to made Chuks' heart ache. But what could he do? He was just a cook, while Emeka was a powerful man with connections. It seemed hopeless. But as he looked at Cheta, something inside him shifted. He couldn't just stand by and do nothing. He had to find a way to protect her, even if it meant risking everything. As Chuks wrestled with his feelings, an idea began to form in his mind. It was a risky plan, but he knew it might be the only way to secure Cheta's happiness. He couldn't bear the thought of her being forced into a marriage with someone she didn't love, especially someone like Emeka. One evening, as the kitchen staff were finishing up their duties, Chuks stayed behind. He carefully selected a few choice ingredients, some of which were rare and difficult to obtain. These were not just for flavor, but had a deeper significance in the tradition of his people. Ingredients believed to have the power to influence emotions and open hearts. He spent hours preparing a special dish, one that would not only impress Chief Ono, but also convey his feelings in a way that words never could. As he cooked, his mind was filled with thoughts of Cheta, of the life he wished he could share with her, and of the love that had grown in his heart. The next day, when Chief Ono asked for his lunch to be brought to him, Chuks personally delivered the dish. It was a delicate stew, rich with flavors, and danced on the palate and left a lingering warmth. Chief Ono tasted the dish and raised an eyebrow. This is exceptional, Chuks. What is in it? Chuks smiled, choosing his words carefully. Just a few special ingredients, Chief. I wanted to make something that would truly convey my gratitude for all that you have done for me. Chief Ono nodded, clearly impressed. As he ate, Chuks stood by, his heart pounding. This was more than just a meal. It was his last hope. After finishing the stew, Chief Ono leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. You have been with us for a long time now. Your cook has always been good, but this is something else entirely. Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much, Chief, Chuks said, bowing his head. Chief Ono studied him for a moment, then spoke again. You know, I have been thinking a lot about my daughter's future. It's important that she marries someone who can take care of her, someone who will make her happy. Chuks felt his heart sink. Was Chief Ono about to announce his approval of Emeka's suit? He braced himself for the worst. But then Chief Ono surprised him. I have noticed how much time Cheta has been spending in the kitchen talking with you. At first, I was concerned, but now I see that she's learned a lot from you, more than just cooking. Chus looked up, hope flickering in his chest. Chuks, Chief Ono continued, I can't say I fully understand it, but it's clear that my daughter cares for you. And after tasting this dish, I can see why. You have a gift, one that goes beyond mere cooking. You have a way of making people feel special. Chuck's breath caught in his throat. Was Chief Ono saying what he thought he was? I'm not saying I approve of this relationship, Chief Ono said slowly, but I won't stand in the way of my daughter's happiness. If she truly cares for you, and if you can prove that you can take care of her, then perhaps there is a way. Chus could hardly believe his ears. Chief Ono was giving him a chance to prove himself worthy of Cheta's love. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chuk said, his voice trembling with emotion. I promise I will do everything in my power to make her happy. Chief Ono nodded, his expression serious. You better do, Chuks, because if you hurt her, you will have more than just me to answer. As news of Chief Ono's reluctant approval spread through the household, tensions began to rise. The other staff members were shocked. How could a mere cook, someone from their own ranks, possibly win the favor of the chief and the heart of his daughter? But the one who was most furious was Emeka. When he heard that Chief Ono had given Chuks a chance, he was livid. How could a nobody, a man who slaved away in the kitchen, possibly compete with him? He stormed into Chief Ono's mansion, demanding to speak with him. Chief Ono, I heard some disturbing news, Emeka began, barely containing his anger. Is it true that you are allowing that cook to cut your daughter? Chief Ono, who had grown weary of Emeka's arrogance, responded calmly, Yes, it's true. I have given Chus a chance. Cheta happiness is what matters most to me, and it seems she has feelings for him. Emeka's face turned red with fury. This is absurd. How can you allow a man of such low status to even think of marrying your daughter? What about the reputation of your family? Chief Ono's eye narrowed. Emeka, I appreciate your concern, but this is a matter for my family to decide. Chuks may be a cook, but he has proven himself in ways that go beyond wealth and status. If you cannot accept that, then perhaps it's best you look elsewhere for a wife. Emeka was speechless, his rage boiling over. He stormed out of the mansion, vowing to find a way to get rid of Chuks and win Cheta's hand. Meanwhile, Chuks and Cheta's relationship began to blossom. They spent more time together talking about their hopes and dreams and sharing quiet moments in the kitchen. For the first time, Chuks felt that his love for Cheta might actually have a chance to flourish. But the shadow of Emeka's anger bloomed over them, and Chuks knew that their happiness was still fragile. He had won Chief's approval, but there were other battles to be fought. Emeka was not a man to be trifled with. His pride had been wounded, and he was determined to take revenge on Chuks. he began to plot, using his wealth and connections to find a way to ruin Chuk's chance with Cheta. One day, a stranger approached him in the market. The man was well dressed with an air of authority, but there was something sinister in his smile. "You are Chuks, the cook, aren't you?" the man asked. Chuks nodded, wary of the stranger. "Yes, that is me. Can I help you with something?" The man's smile widened. "Actually, I am here to help you. You see, I have heard about your situation, and I think I can offer you a way out." Chuks frowned, unsure of what the man was getting at. "What do you mean?" The man leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "I represent a very powerful person who doesn't want to see you with Cheta, but instead of ruining you, he's willing to offer you a substantial amount of money to leave town and never come back again." Chuks felt a chill run down his spine. He knew immediately who the man was working for. "Emeka sent you, right? Didn't he?" The man didn't deny it. "My employer is offering you a generous sum, enough to start a new life somewhere far from here. All you have to do is walk away very far from here." Chuks was furious. How dare Emeka think he could be bought off so easily? But at the same time, he knew that Emeka was powerful and that refusing this offer could lead to even more trouble. "I'm not interested," Chuks said firmly. "Tell your boss that I am not for sale." Emeka was enraged when he learned that Chuks had refused his offer. He was not used to being defied, and the thought of a mere cook standing in the way of his plans was intolerable. He decided it was time to take more drastic measures. He began to use the other cooks in the mansion to hunt Chuks. They spread lies against Chuks that he was stealing from the chief. One evening, as Chuks was preparing dinner, he noticed that the other kitchen staff were acting strangely. They avoided his gaze, and their usual friendly banter was replaced by awkward silence. Chuks knew something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Later that night, as he was finishing up, he overheard two of the maids talking in hushed tones. "Did you hear what they say about Chuks?" one of them whispered. "They say he's been stealing from the chief." The other maid gasped. "No, Chuks would never do that. He's such a good man." "I don't know," the first maid replied, "but I heard it from one of the guides. They say the chief is planning to confront him tomorrow." Chuks felt his heart sink. He knew these were lies, but how could he prove his innocency? And if Chief Ono believed the rumors, his chance at happiness with Cheta would be over. The next morning, as Chuks was setting the table for breakfast, Chief Ono entered the kitchen with a stern expression. Chuks could tell immediately that something was wrong. "Chuks," Chief Ono began, his voice cold, "I have been hearing some disturbing things about you. They say you have been stealing from me, that you have been using your position to take advantage of my family." Chuks felt a lump form in his throat. "Chief, I swear to you, I would never do such a thing. These are lies, all of them." Chief Ono studied him for a moment, his eyes narrowing. "I want to believe you, Chuks, but the rumors are spreading and they are damaging my family's reputation. If you can't prove your innocency, I will have no choice but to let you go." Chuks was devastated. How could he prove he hadn't done something when there was no evidence either way? It was a nightmare scenario, and he felt utterly helpless. But as he stood there, trying to find the right words, Cheta entered the kitchen. She had overheard the conversation and could see the despair in Chuks' eyes. Papa, she said firmly, stepping forward, you know Chuks would never do anything to harm our family. Someone is trying to ruin his reputation because they are jealous of what we have. Chief Ono looked at his daughter. Do you really believe that, Cheta? I do, she replied without hesitation. And I believe in Chuks. He's the most honest, hardworking man I know. Chief Ono sighed clearly. He wanted to trust his daughter's judgment, but the rumors had shaken him. Finally, he turned to Chuks. Chuks, I will give you the benefit of doubt for now, but if anything else comes to light, anything that suggests you have been dishonest, you will be out of this house, and I will make sure you never walk in this city again. Chuks nodded, relief washing over him. Thank you, Chief. I won't let you down. As Chief Ono left the kitchen, Cheta turned to Chuks, her eyes filled with concern. We have to find out who is behind this. Chuks, we can't let them ruin everything. Chuks nodded, determination hardened in his heart. He knew exactly who was behind the rumors, and he was going to make sure Emeka paid for his lies. Late one evening, after most of the household had gone to bed, Chuks slipped out of the mansion and made his way to the bar, where he knew Emeka often spent his evenings. The place was noisy and dimly lit, filled with the scent of alcohol and smoke. Chuks spotted Emeka at a corner table, surrounded by a few of his cronies. Taking a deep breath, Chuks walked over to the table. Emeka looked up, surprised to see him, but quickly masked his surprise with a sneer. Well, well, if it isn't the cook, Emeka drooled, leaning back in his chair. What are you doing here, Chuks? Come to beg for mercy. Chuks met his gaze steadily. No, Emeka, I have come to tell you to stop spreading lies about me. Emeka laughed, a cold, mocking sound. Lies? What lies? I'm just telling the truth. Everyone knows you are just a lowly cook trying to worm your way into the Ono's family's good grace. Chuks clenched his fist, forcing himself to stay calm. I have worked hard for everything. I have, and I care about Cheta more than anything in the world. You are trying to ruin my life because you are jealous, but I won't let you. Emeka's eyes narrowed. You think you can threaten me? You are nothing, Chuks. Just a servant. If you know what is good for you, you will take the money and disappear. Chuks shook his head. I'm not going to anywhere, Emeka, and if you keep this up, you will be the one who has to leave. I am not afraid of you. Emeka's expression darkened. You should be, he is. You have no idea what I am capable of doing. Before Chuks could respond, one of Emeka's cronies stood up, cracking his knuckles menacingly. Maybe we should teach this cook a lesson, he said, his voice low and threatening. Chuks knew he was outnumbered, but he refused to back down. Go ahead, he said, his voice steady. But remember this, if anything happens to me, everyone will know it was you, and then you will have to answer to Chief Ono. The days following the confrontation felt so real for Chuks. With Chief Ono's approval, the entire household's attitude toward him shifted. The rumors ceased, and respect took their place. Chuks continued to work diligently, proving his worth through every dish he crafted. One afternoon, Cheta entered the kitchen with a bright smile. Close your eyes, she instructed, hiding something behind her back. Chuks complied, and a moment later, he felt something light placed on his head. When he opened his eyes, he saw his reflection in a shiny pot, a pristine white chef's hat, embroidered with his name. For the best cook in the world, Cheta said softly, her eyes brimming with pride. Chuks was overcome with emotion. Thank you, Cheta. I will wear it with honor. A week later, Chief Ono called everyone to the grand hall for an announcement. The room buzzed with anticipation. Chuks stood beside Cheta, his heart pounding. Chuks, Chief Ono began, you have shown remarkable character and skill. I am proud to offer you the position of the head chief. You have earned it. The room erupted in applause. Chuks could hardly believe it. He had gone from being a simple cook to the head chief of the Ono household. His eyes met Cheta's, and she smiled, her heart full of love and pride. And as for your relationship with my daughter, Chief Ono continued, you have my blessing. I see a bright future for both of you. Chuks was overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much, Chief Ono. I promise I won't let you down. The next years that followed were filled with joy and fulfillment. Chuks thrived as the head chef, earning respect and admiration. Chuks and Cheta's love blossomed. They married in a beautiful ceremony, uniting their worlds. They later have beautiful children to themselves. Chief Ono treated Chuks as a son, and together they built a life filled with love, respect, and happiness. In the end, the poor cook had won not only the heart of the woman he loved, but also the respect of a powerful man. Chuks and Cheta lived happily ever after, proving that true love and integrity could overcome any obstacle. Thank you so much for watching this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop in the comment section what you think about this story. And please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share to your friends and your loved ones. Bye.